Hello and welcome to the 9th edition of the Two Black, Two Nerdy podcast. I'm your host, Chris.
And I am your host, Chris.
And today we're going to talk to you about a variety of topics. So, first, I want to talk about a situation that's going on at Screen Junkies.
Yeah.
So, if you guys aren't familiar with Screen Junkies, they're a big YouTube channel, of the film geek community. Their most popular thing is, if you ever seen the Honest trailers, they were the creators behind that. So, you know, I've watched their stuff probably, years, maybe the past 3 years. I've always thought that they created some good content. You see quite a few sort of like YouTube celebrities guest star on a lot of their stuff. They've had Kevin Smith on there. Mm-hmm. They got the Russo brothers.
Right, they got the director of Kong Skull Island, the director of Lion King.
Deadpool. God, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds was an honest trailer for Deadpool. Like they're pretty big. And this week, some information came out. They're I don't know if he's their total founder or one of their founders, but pretty much one of the big shots of Screen Junkies. His name's Andy Signore. He's been accused of some sexual misconduct. So apparently he tried to sexually assault one of the women that's appeared on their show or was going to appear on their show, and then when she went to HR dismissed it and threatened to fire her boyfriend who did work for Screen Junkies. Mm-hmm. And after that came out, I believe a bunch of other women on Twitter were saying that, hey, Andy messaged me, he said this to me, he's done this. So there's a lot of sort of accusations going on. Allegations coming out, screenshots of emails and DMs and all this stuff. And it's a pretty messed up situation. Pretty much everyone within like that community of YouTube has spoken out against them. So I think it's safe to say that there's got to be some truth to where all this information's coming from. And he was actually suspended, and they're going to do an investigation, I guess. I think they're owned by Defy Media.
Yeah, so, I met Andy Signore once.
You met him?
Yeah, I met him once. I met him at Star Wars Celebration.
The Star Wars Celebration?
Yeah. I walked by, I was like, oh, yeah, I recognize you. You're on Screen Junkies. He's like, yeah, I'm Andy Signore. So I met him. Talked to him for a couple minutes. It's not one of those situations where I'd be like, I'm so shocked. I'm just like, yeah, people are.
He's married and has kids too. Not that that's surprising, but it's always just a sad situation. Obviously, they're a part of the entertainment business, and women in general just go through so much. And when you have people in power think they can abuse that power, it's always a problem. Uh-huh. So I think it's just important that if you know that something's going on, please report it. Stand behind victims, support victims, all of that good stuff, because I want the nerd and geek community to be a place where everyone is happy and safe and all of that kind of stuff. So it sucks.
You look at the situation, and what I've been thinking about after you told me about it the other day was that it brings up the same thing with Bill Cosby and Michael Jackson's allegations and all that. Is how do you separate the content from the creator? And so, there will be people that are going to boycott Screen Junkies.
Yeah, there's going to be people who never watch a Screen Junkies video again. Right. Because of this. Because one thing is that you don't know who at Screen Junkies knew or didn't know. And when someone at the top is doing something like that, it trickles down throughout the entire company. It's not like he was just one weird dude who was an intern there and then they fire him and that's it. So it's a messy situation, and I think it also is important that even if you like someone's content, don't defend them when they screw up, when they do something that's illegal, inappropriate, immoral, whatever. Because at the end of the day, I think sometimes with the internet, you kind of feel like you have a relationship with someone.
Right.
Like, you watch your videos every week. You're like, oh, I know this person. Andy would never do that. He was such a nice guy. And it's like, you don't know him at all. You have no idea. He was just a guy who made videos that you enjoyed. And that goes for actors. That goes for media personalities. I mean, you don't literally know these people.
Right.
Even if you met them once at a convention and they're nice to you, you have no idea, unless you are personal friends with someone, you have no idea what kind of person they are.
Right. Screen Junkies as a whole, I don't really care about. Like, I watch Honest Trailers weekly. Like, it'd be like...
Honest Game trailers are pretty good, too.
Yeah, that's with Smosh, so that's a little bit different. I watch them every once in a while.
That's all Defy Media, that's why. They're all under the Defy... Smosh is under... Because I was like, why is this...
a thing?
But, like, the guy who does the Honest Trailer voice and stuff, he works for Defy Media, which is why he's on Screen Junkies and he's on Smosh and whatever.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're going to boycott Screen Junkies, by all means, go ahead. If you're not, that's your choice. I wouldn't necessarily say defend Andy because...
it looks bad.
Right, but even if he did any of this, then you should not defend him because sexual assault, sexual harassment is very serious, and it's any type of harassment really will just changes your perspective. It changes the person that experiences it. It changes their perspective on things.
Yeah, it's a crappy situation. I mean, I don't know what's next for Screen Junkies. I mean, there are people there that I also like, but now I don't know who knew and who didn't know. So, I mean, personally for me, I'll probably just take a break, watch some other stuff, see what happens when the dust settles,
Watch CinemaSins.
Yeah, watch CinemaSins, watch something else, see kind of what happens with the company, because, I mean, imagine if you worked there and you had no idea. Mm-hmm. That's just crazy.
It's like, do you resign? Do you, what do you do?
Find another job?
Because, it's one thing if you have to go look for another job, but if you just resign, just flat out, you don't have a job now.
Yeah, I trust.
And then people are looking at you like, oh, you're sticking with that company? Like, I gotta
you don't have to tell me about the hopping jobs. I mean, it's just, anyway, what Andy did, what he's accused of, terrible, I hope justice, whatever kind of justice is served for those women, and whoever at Screen Junkies did not know, maybe they can, move on and create their own,
and whoever did know
channel and company, whoever did know, they also need to go.
Yeah.
So, that's about it. You want to move on to Arrowverse?
Arrowverse.
Alright, so the Arrowverse shows are going to premiere this upcoming week. This video is going to be uploaded probably a week later, so those premieres probably would have happened by the time you hear this. But, Chris, I know you don't care about Supergirl. I think they're doing the Legion of Superheroes. So
yeah, I've seen that.
I think they casted a Saturn Girl. I think Mon-El's going to be with the Legion or something, so...
I mean, that only makes sense.
Yeah. Because that's the team he was on.
In the comic,
yeah.
After he got his lead poisoning.
And they teased that ring in the first season.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Supergirl, you know what? I'd rather see a crossover in her universe. Yeah. As opposed to in just the Arrowverse in general, just to see, because that's a different type of rules they play with over there. Like, yeah, you've had Damien Dark with his magic and super soldiers with Slade, but Supergirl and Superman, it's
like a whole nother level. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wish we could learn more about their planet outside of National City.
And Batman exists.
Batman exists. Yeah,
maybe it's a grown-up Bruce Wayne from Gotham.
Don't. Did you see the pre-Batsuit? Did you see what it looks like?
The proto-Batman. He's Bruce Man. He's not Batman. He's Bruce
Man. Yeah. So, Supergirl. I mean, they're also breaking up Samverse because the girl who plays Maggie's going to another show.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't care.
So yeah.
They said when that first came out, they were like, "Oh, we're not gonna kill her off," and I was just like, "Well, you didn't say you weren't gonna break her off." But see, that just puts everything that happened in the last season.
It makes it pointless. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
it's fine that she came out, whatever.
I mean, I'm gonna do a live reaction to it, which you'll probably see that before you hear this. I mean, what I expect from Supergirl is if I get some decent fights, you know, some parasite level villains that show up, you know, in the show, I'll be happy. Please, my one gripe was the show that please do something with Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Besides him just being Guardian, like, please honor Jimmy Olsen's character, because Jimmy Olsen was around before Supergirl was.
Yep.
You know, like that's like my one gripe. Everything else, I mean, even like Martian Manhunter and stuff, I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, John's, you know, like the dad just helping out, but please try to do something good with Jimmy Olsen's character. Because I felt like last season it was like, why is he in this show? When he wasn't a love interest, I mean, they tried to make him a vigilante, but it was like Jimmy Olsen just has no.
He has no place there.
He has no place in the show, and it's like either write him out or do something with him.
So, I mean, it is what it is.
All right, so
Flash.
Yeah, moving on to Flash. This season's supposed to be more upbeat. We know at least one of the villains is going to be the Thinker, which was teased last season. Some
random samurai guy.
We saw a random samurai guy. I was like, okay. I mean, they're at a point. Who knows? I guess Caitlin is semi-normal. She's a bartender.
Right.
So I'm like,
Wally needs to go to Keystone City and needs to focus on Barry again, or Barry just needs to stay in the Speed Force and Wally takes over the show. I mean, because having two Flashes, and let's be real, he's not really Kid Flash because he's only like, what, 3-4 years younger than Barry?
Yeah, he's not that much younger than Barry.
Like, I'd be pissed if I'm a 20-year-old.
I mean, Barry's like 26, 27, like mid-20s. Wally is like college student age.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna be a little mad if, you know, I'm like 19, 20, 21 and I'm being called Kid Flash. Like, you know,
yeah.
He's faster than Barry.
Yeah, I mean, with Flash, the new suit looks cool. Same cowl, but the suit is different. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
It's more red, I think.
I just wonder, I'm like, okay, who are they gonna, you know, you have the Thinker who's just like, you're running out of villains.
Yeah, well, one thing is that, like, I mean, season 1, they did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They burned through a lot of villains. I mean, there's certain things they haven't done, which, the first, they've never done the rogues, like, proper.
Right, they should have a rogues season. But the fact that you have Captain Cold and dead or a hero.
Yeah, and then Heatwave on Legend, it's like, we've never gotten...
Well, you can.
I mean, even without them, you could still do.
You can have another Heatwave, but you can't have another Captain Cold. There have been like 3 or 4 Heatwaves. You can't have another Captain.
Yeah,
Cold.
I guess my curiosity with this Flash season is that what villains are they going to use? You know, I mean, I think the most fun they can have is explore the multiverse a little bit more, because they've only done, and that's going to be part of the crossover, is where we're going to see like evil Nazi counterparts of all the superheroes.
Evil Nazi counterparts. I wonder where the Nazi part came from.
Is Captain America going to show up?
Yeah. Captain America's going to show up and just be like, we stand and fight and stand and fight. The most anticlimactic ending to a story.
I don't want to get into Secret Empire on this podcast, but yeah, I feel like with all the shows, we don't have as much information about the seasons as we did last year.
Mm-hmm.
So Flash, like I said, we know Barry's going to come back. We know that him and Iris's wedding is going to be part of the crossover. Besides that, we don't really know a lot about where this season is going to go.
Right. They're calling it, well, you see, the first episode is called Flash Reborn, which obviously is a reference to Flash Rebirth, but Flash Rebirth had to do with Eobard Thawne. That's one of my favorite comic arcs is Flash Rebirth.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, in between that and when Barry went into the Speed Force, he died, and Flash Rebirth, there were years in between.
Yeah, well He's only been gone a few months. So
right, like if you did a time jump, well, you could.
What are they going to? I think the problem is that at this point we've had 3 seasons of Flash, and the show definitely has a formula, and they're going to have to change some things up in order, I think, for the show to succeed. I mean, I think Flash has at least 5 seasons. After that, who knows? I think they at least have one more season out of season after season 5. I think. I mean, we can get into Legends and Arrow next. But
give me Crisis on Infinite Earths, please. Just.
I think that they're gonna have to they're gonna have to use more of the budget and just do some crazier things. Yeah. I would like to see them visit some more alternate Earths and things of that nature. I think could help the show stay fresh.
Yeah. All right, so what do you think about this? My brother was saying this at the end of last season. I don't know if I brought it up on a previous broadcast. But you know how the newspaper in 2024 said that, you know, the Flash was battling the Reverse Flash, and Hawkgirl was there, and Atom was there, and Green Arrow was there, and then there were red skies, and then the Flash vanished. And my brother was saying that, there were red skies at the end, so everything's changed now. But I'm like, it says he was battling the Reverse Flash. No one was there to see him fight Savitar, and Hawkgirl wasn't there. And Green Arrow wasn't there.
Dude, is Hawkgirl, like, is she ever, I mean, with the newspaper, I mean, they've been teasing that. I hope that they have some sort of plan for it, because they've kept it consistent throughout the seasons.
Right.
Because there are certain things, there are certain, like, early things in these shows that they'll, like, get rid of, like, say, like, in, like, Arrow, where Oliver had the list, there were some names on the list that did not. Like, one of the names, like, I think, like, Hannibal Bates, he was, like, on a Flash, he showed up on a Flash episode, and, like, Alright, so, so pretty much what I was talking about before, we kind of got cut off there, was that, the girl, the Ravager, Isabella Rakchev, whatever, she was on, like, the season 1 list of Arrow, but when we met her in season 2, like, there was no reference to that whatsoever. So I guess my point is that I don't know, like, when they teased that thing with the newspaper, I don't know if that was the thing they actually planned on doing, or if it was just like a whatever tease they put in these shows.
Yeah, I think that they were getting a little ambitious with their 2024 thing, because Flash started in 2014, so they were aiming for like 10 years like they were in, like with Smallville. I think once Arrow ends within a year or two, that in Flash they can do a time jump, because you know Legends doesn't really necessarily rely on that timeline, and who cares about Supergirl's universe, because it's a different universe, so who knows what's going on there. But yeah, you can just.
And Arrow's going to end at some point.
Yeah, it's got to end soon.
Sooner rather than later, I think. Yeah. I think personally. Right. So I think we can move on to Legends. So Legends is a fun show. You know, as long as Legends continues to surprise me, they do some cool special effects and fights. We're getting Black Adam's wife, so that'll be neat.
It's like the Legion of Supervillains is pretty much what we're getting here.
Yeah, the evil. Did you ever watch the
Dark and all that?
Did you watch the Vixen animated series? Apparently, the villain is going to be Vixen is the evil sister in like the animated series, and that's who the villain's going to be. She's a sister of the current day Vixen, not the past Vixen, and she has animal powers too. So,
cool.
We'll see.
Why wouldn't you just do a Nazi then?
I don't know. They should do a Nazi. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're going to do more Vixen stuff. I think, because I think last season they were kind of like experimenting with, let's put her on the show. But I think for now, I think they really like that actress, and I think fans really like the Vixen character. So I think they're going to keep her on Legends for a while.
Yeah.
Tested better than Hawkgirl. She wasn't a barista. So, and John Constantine's going to be in an episode.
Yeah.
So, yay. Because people wanted him on Legends for a while.
Right.
I think that actor has other stuff going on, so he can't be a regular, but they'll get him in for an episode. Yeah, because he did the voice of Constantine in the Justice League Dark animated movie that came out. Was that early this year, like January or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I liked it.
Yeah. So that's cool. I'm trying to think of anything else they've teased. Rip Hunter is going to like form a new group of like not Time Masters. I don't know why.
I think what they're calling them
the Time Bureau or something.
Time Bureau, yeah.
They mentioned you still playing Justice 2 or not really?
Not really.
They have a multiverse. They have a multiverse mission for Firestorm themed after the like the upcoming season. It's like the Time Bureau has sent superheroes to attack. You use Firestorm and Canary's an assist character. Yeah, so they did that.
Speaking of superhero themed video games,
what?
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Talk about Arrow first, and we'll go to that.
Okay, we'll go to Arrow first.
So Arrow, Deathstroke's going to be in it. We still don't know everyone who survived. I'm assuming everyone lived except for the baby mama.
Right, I think everybody lived except her, which sort of makes that whole thing pointless.
Unless they cripple somebody.
Which we know people get magically healed.
People think they might do something. People think they're going to write Thea off the show.
Have we seen Curtis?
Curtis is coming back. He's talked about in interviews. Curtis is coming back. Wild Dog's coming back. Oh. Pretty much everyone's confirmed to come back. Siren's coming back. I guess Talia, Evelyn Sharp, Felicity, and Diggle have not been seen yet. Deathstroke is coming back.
Whatever.
Yeah. Malcolm's dad.
That's because John Barrowman didn't want to come back.
Yeah, that's what John Barrowman's like. All right, guys.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough.
I say.
He's saying he's good. So, yeah, I want to see what they do with the aftermath of the island situation. We're going to find out who Vigilante is. Apparently, Vigilante has a connection to one of the other characters who's currently on the team.
Honestly, I forgot about him.
Yeah, I know. Because they wrote him off the show in the middle of the season.
Right.
After the Prometheus reveal.
Which was also
And, I like season 5. So, we'll see what they do with season 6. I think Arrow's got one more season. I think Arrow's got 7 seasons. And I think at that point, I think they should end the show.
Like, honestly,
if they want to roll over any other characters in the Legends or something, do that. Yeah,
because I'm like, you can't really build anything anymore. Like, you've done the League of Assassins, you've done Deathstroke, you've done Damien Dark with Hive, like Brother Blood with during the Deathstroke season. Like, you don't have many really things you can do anymore.
Yeah, on Arrow they've definitely done quite a bit. Yeah. So, I'm curious to see what comes next. The crossover, like I said before, between the 4 shows seems interesting. We'll get an evil Oliver Queen.
How is the schedule set up now for the Arrowverse? Is it 2 on Tuesday and 2 on Thursday?
No, it's Supergirl's on Monday, Flash and Legends are on Tuesday, Nothing's on Wednesday, and then Riverdale's on Wednesday.
And then Arrow's on Thursday. That's going to be annoying for the crossover to have like that day.
I think I don't know if this is the place, but I admit that I've watched Riverdale and sometimes enjoy it.
My brother enjoys it. I haven't watched it yet.
It's a teen drama. With teen drama, either you like them or you don't. If you watch shit like Degrassi or something like that, maybe you'll get something out of it. But if not, it's not your cup of tea. That's all. All the teen drama tropes are there. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say about Riverdale. But it is technically a comic show.
I would just have Riverdale take a break that week and then just throw in one of the shows.
They moved Arrow to Monday that week.
Oh, did
so
they?
It's like Supergirl and Arrow and then Flash and
Okay,
Legends.
then that's fine.
I think that's what they're doing for the crossover.
That's a little bit of an odd.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, so are we actually going to get someone in Supergirl, or is Supergirl just going to leave and come to the universe for the entire episode?
She's gonna use her magic
device. Is she going to do that at the end of the episode? Because at that point I'm like, why?
They're not going to do that again. No, they did that before because it was rushed.
Mm-hmm.
The last year's crossover was a bit rushed because you got to remember, going to CW was like,
yeah,
that happened. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
But CBS was like, yo, we're going to cancel this. And CW was like, okay, we'll take it. We can probably do more with it than you can.
Right.
And they were comparing Supergirl season 1 to season 2, I'm moving my hands up and down, and no one can see.
6 in one hand, half a dozen.
Yeah, they did some certain things better in season 1. They did certain things better in season 2. Yeah. They still haven't found their footing yet. But the sad part is that Supergirl's probably my least favorite show, but like if they knew what they were doing, that show probably has the most potential next to Legends, just because you can use Superman. You can use a lot of Superman stuff that's never going to be in a movie, you know. And they try with like Metallo and stuff like that, but like, can we get a real cyborg Superman?
Right. Like, how is he cyborg?
How is?
It doesn't make any sense. Because cyborg Superman.
How is John? Like how is he? I don't understand why he's cyborg Superman. He could have easily been like cyborg Martian Manhunter. Like, I don't understand.
I think they did the whole Hank Henshaw
thing. I know,
as a reveal
to throw people off in the beginning.
Martian Manhunter, which was that was cool. But then it's like Hank Henshaw is cyborg Superman. And Cyborg Superman is supposed to look like
Superman. Yeah, like, I have no problem, but like, it would only like, yeah, and it's just like, and him being a black dude just makes it even weirder, because it was just like
it'd be one thing if he was a black cyborg.
It would make more sense if they had, one thing I thought they were going to do, they never did, I thought, and this is the last thing I'll say about Supergirl, and we can move on to some other stuff, but I thought when they brought back Dean Cain and made him evil, I thought Dean Cain was going to be Cyborg. Dean Cain should have been Cyborg Superman at least, because he's at least been a Superman before.
Right, and so then you would have been winking at all the fans of The Adventures of Lois and Clark, which I was one. I loved that show as a kid.
Yeah, so it's just like, dude, come on. But anyway, we can move on. So I recently, that's it for the Arrowverse. So I recently picked up a game. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and I have some thoughts. So for those of you who haven't heard of the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, I can talk about it. So Capcom, they're a company. They have a lot of video game properties: Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Mega Man, Dead Rising, Darkstalkers, things of that nature.
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
And back in the day, I think in the 90s, they decided they were making a Marvel X-Men video game, I think. And I think they made an X-Men fighting game. It was a fighting game. You had a few X-Men characters they were able to fight. And then as a secret character, for fun, they added in Akuma from Street Fighter. Well, this came out. People liked this idea, so they said, hey, how about we make a game where we have our Marvel, X-Men characters fight characters from Street Fighter, because Akuma, he's a evil martial artist dude from Street Fighter, so I need to know. So they did Marvel superheroes, no, they did X-Men versus Street Fighter first, and then they continued the franchise, these games. They eventually branched off from just the X-Men and just included Marvel superheroes, all superheroes. So, you got Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, all those kind of guys. And besides the Street Fighter, they started adding in characters from other Capcom franchises at the time, like Mega Man and things of that nature. Right. So they recently announced Marvel's Capcom Infinite, which is like the new game in this series, earlier this year, and then it released in September. Super short time between release and from announcement to release. So when the game was first announced, people were really excited. They're like, oh my god, how many characters are going to be in it? Because this is the first Marvel's Capcom game that's really been out when the Marvel Cinematic Universe is at like its peak. So people were really excited about it. Then the more we saw the game, a lot of the graphics did not look great. Chun-Li's face, I know you know who Chun-Li is from Street Fighter. Chun-Li's face had some issues. Dante from Devil May Cry had some face issues. Captain America, his body he has no neck. Like, the way they made him, he literally looks like a Ninja Turtle. Because his shoulders are so big, and his head is small, and he has no neck. So there was some graphical issues there. And we got the final roster of 30 characters. A lot of the characters they put in are repeated characters from older games. I think right now there's only a total of 4 new characters total, and then there's some new characters coming out, like they made Black Panther DLC. I don't know why it wasn't in the original game. Things of that nature. And people are kind of just disappointed with it, because the gameplay of the game is fine. Like, it's your typical Marvel's Capcom game. It's really, Marvel Capcom games are really fast paced, lots of laser beams.
2-on-2 instead of 3-on-3, which is okay. You switch between characters and they fight. And they made the 6 Infinity Stones as items that each team can use, which it changes gameplay a little bit. Like if you have the Power Stone, you're able to it makes it easier for you to combo in different attacks. If you have the Time Stone, you can move at like super speed. If you have like the Soul Stone, you can take away health from people. But outside of the gameplay, Marvel Capcom is kind of bare bones and really disappointing. The story mode makes absolutely no sense. Pretty much all the characters from Marvel and Capcom randomly team up with no explanation to fight a fusion of Ultron and a Mega Man villain, which would seem okay in concept, but when the game actually came out, the story mode was just kind of like, you know, you watch a cutscene and you fight, and like for some reason, like it just didn't feel as epic as, say, like, you know, something like Injustice, where like you play through the Injustice story mode and you're like, okay, Firestorm versus Wonder Woman, you know, okay, Supergirl versus Superman, okay, I'm trying to think of fights that are in that, you know, Batman versus Brainiac, you know. I felt like the Injustice story mode did a good job at showing relationships that characters had and made you really excited to get them to fight each other. And Marvel's Capcom Infinite just didn't do that. Online is fine, the gameplay is fine, but it's really disappointing. There are less characters than some of the other games. A lot of repeated characters, some characters that were brought back in, I really don't think should have been brought back. And they took out, because Marvel hates the X-Men now, there are no X-Men. So no Wolverine, no Storm, no Magneto, no Fantastic Four characters either, so no Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom was a classic character. Yeah, there's a lot with it, you know, and I think they know that their sales have been bad because they teased 6 DLC characters. They've already they're going to release 3 of them next week. So I think that just shows that they're really desperate, you know. I don't know why they didn't want to put someone like Black Panther in the main game. I just don't understand that.
The only thing that Marvel cares about are their movies.
Yeah.
Because literally everything else has fallen off.
Yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to be canceled, but Disney said no. Inhumans was just
terrible.
Agents
of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually had a good season last year, though. The thing about S.H.I.E.L.D.
It was supposed to be canceled after that season.
I know. Well, the effed up thing about S.H.I.E.L.D. is that the show's actually gotten better, but it had a huge drop off, and now it's hard to bring people. It has a small but dedicated fan base, I guess you should say.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Marvel, I mean, the thing about Marvel's Capcom Infinite is that there's a good game underneath, but they should have spent way more time. They should have put in more characters at launch. The story mode, you know, in my personal opinion, either try to write a story mode decent in a fighting game, or just don't put one in there. Because, you know, why spend all this money on all these expensive CG cutscenes where you could have just spent it on more characters?
Right.
Because in a game like Marvel's Capcom, there doesn't have to be a story. You know, I think something like Injustice, the story of the first one was like a key point, you know, and there's an Injustice spin-off comic that's amazing. The Injustice 2 comic is still good.
Yep.
I don't know do you read it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Is the president dead? I think he
yeah, he's dead.
That's messed up, yeah. So,
but a video game whose beta came out this past week, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Is it good?
Love it.
Okay.
Like, hey, EA, you got your head out of your butt.
I know.
Like, you know.
Everyone makes fun of EA.
Right, I'm playing it, you know, I'm on Naboo.
Sports.
I have the clones. I'm fighting, and then all of a sudden I see a dual-bladed red lightsaber coming at me. I'm like, oh my god! It's a Maul. It's great. I like it.
That's good. But the last thing I just want to say about Marvel Capcom Infinite is that Marvel really should have taken more time instead of just trying to make a game where it seems like you're just trying to cash in, on the cinematic universe. And even if you literally couldn't use the X-Men, why was Black Panther not in at launch? Why was, and some of their DLC characters, they're adding in Bucky and Venom, which is fine, and then Black Widow. And I'm like, does Black Widow need to be in the game? like what can she do that made her like interesting? You know, when you lose someone like Magneto, you gotta add in like Adam Warlock or something,
right?
To make up for it.
You're not putting in Doom.
You're not putting in Doom. At least Thanos is in it. Thanos is fun because he has a brand new moveset. Because in like older games, Thanos like used like bubbles or something weird. He was not.
Yeah.
Thanos in the older Marvel Capcom games was not comic Thanos.
Because obviously they didn't want to make him, OP, which he would have been.
But they
Hulk was OP.
in this game. I mean, Thanos is alright. Ultron is fine, but like they really. They just could have tried a lot harder, especially with this roster, because there's a wide variety of Marvel characters that have never been in a game. You know, if you're not going to do Fantastic Four, you could...
Throw in Blue Marvel.
Throw in Kamala Khan.
Hyperion.
They added in Rocket, who's in the last game, and Groot is an assist character. Why couldn't you make Groot his own character? If you can do Swamp Thing and Injustice...
Yeah.
You can do Groot, who's literally a weaker version.
He's in Marvel Contest of Champions as a playable character. He's so annoying. But yeah.
So So we can move on. Next here I have so Dragon Ball Super. We've talked about a lot of times on the podcast. They had a 1 hour special, which is the big fight night between Goku and a fellow named Jiren. Jiren is he's from one of the other universes that Goku and his friends are currently fighting. He is, to our knowledge, the strongest guy who's actually in the tournament.
Strongest person probably in Dragon Ball Super that is not a god of destruction or an angel. So Goku fought him and got his butt handed.
He got destroyed by he fought him with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 and got destroyed. Used the Spirit Bomb. Jiren blocked the Spirit Bomb with one hand and sent it back at Goku.
And then at the end, when he was finally Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken trying to push it back, he used two hands.
Yeah. So it was, so Goku got destroyed. At first, we thought it looked like he got vaporized. Now, if you've watched Dragon Ball, you know no one dies for real. So Goku disappears for a minute. Everybody freaks out. Goku comes back in this new form, which I don't know what it's actually called.
Ultra Instinct.
I thought I like Limit Breaker I think Limit Breaker is a better name, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he came back in a new form and he was able to keep up with Jiren a lot more. He
actually got in a couple hits.
He got in a couple hits and pushed him back, but Goku was still defeated at the end of it, and he was saved by Hit. So I guess Hit's gonna fight Jiren next episode.
Right.
And I guess Frieza looks like he's gonna try to kill Goku, which we know is not going to happen.
Right.
But all in all, I mean, it was a great special. The art and animation was on point. You know, Ribrianne stuff at the beginning was annoying, but once we got to the main event, I was like, all right, I'm here. And when Goku came back and he had his new transformation and he threw what are the two Pride Troopers' names? Topo and Dispo, I think.
Yeah.
When he threw both of them and that music was playing, I was like, this is it was movie to me that felt like movie quality. You know, art and animation. Probably the best fight scene we've seen in Dragon Ball. I would argue maybe since Battle of Gods.
Yeah.
If not Resurrection after the movie. Not what they did in the anime, but it was comparable to the fight scenes in those movies. I felt like I grew a beard watching it, and I smoked like 10 cigarettes. I'm like, yeah, cigars, not cigarettes.
Put hair on your chest.
I know. It's like, yeah. So it was thoroughly enjoyable. If you're not checking out Dragon Ball Super, I implore you to check it out if you're fans of Dragon Ball or just the shonen anime in general.
What was the One Piece version? Because they were also doing like a 1 hour special.
One Piece, yeah. So One Piece had a 1 hour special too. I read the manga. It was pretty much so I don't want to spoil. I don't know how much you read of One Piece or how much.
No, I'm all caught up.
You're all caught up. It was when Sanji and Luffy fight, and Sanji Sanji leaves the crew.
They're so behind.
Yeah, that's where they're at, and you know, they have their emotional moment. Because if you remember in earlier One Piece when Luffy and Usopp had that big fight during Water 7, I think they were trying to recreate that a little bit. You know, with the Luffy, but Sanji's lying.
Right.
You know he's lying because they're black. They have pretty much a stepfather, They're blackmailing him with that. So that's why Sanji had to go along with his messed up family and Big Mom and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's, and they added the anime. They added in a bunch of flashbacks, like while it's happening, like Luffy first meeting Sanji and like their relationship and all that stuff. Because I don't watch a One Piece anime. I read it. I don't watch it because the one like okay, so you watch Naruto, of course. What Naruto would do back in the day was that the animes always outpaced the manga.
Right.
So what Naruto would do is Naruto would have a ton of different filler arcs to make up time. Right? They would have arcs that literally brand new stories that weren't in the manga that a lot of times were just really bad. You know, that's what Naruto did. What One Piece does is they do a 1 chapter to 1 episode ratio. So anything that happens in a chapter, because they'll extend throughout an entire episode, which leads to the One Piece anime being so slow. So I don't follow.
That's why I stopped watching it.
I don't follow it regularly. I mean, if they do something cool, like all right, they're doing Luffy versus Doflamingo, you know, I'll watch that. But like, because One Piece has the slow moments even in the manga. Like the writer of One Piece has a way of he introduces you to a new environment and a new area. You have to learn, okay, how does this island, how does this whole environment, culture work? Who's in charge? Who works for who? Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys?
He's a really good world builder. He tends to do a little bit too much like J.R.R. Tolkien does with Lord of the Rings. Like you get a backstory on everything.
Yeah.
Like I don't really care about Big Mom's backstory, but thanks for that. But like I haven't watched One Piece like actual episode. Like I've watched clips on YouTube, like when Luffy fought Doflamingo and all that. But I haven't watched a One Piece episode since Inaru.
Really? Because I stopped a lot later. I stopped...
Because that was the last time I saw it on like Toonami.
I stopped at Fishman Island. Because Fishman Island, it was just... Because at first, because there was a lot of hype when the anime finally got to like the post-time skip. But Fishman Island, I mean, a lot of the beginning of it was just so slow. And that's how One Piece is written. He starts off with world building, does that for a while, foreshadows some stuff, does some stuff, and then... Usually Luffy has a clash with a bad guy and loses or something of that nature. Right. Someone loses, and then when they get to the finale of One Piece, usually you have the Straw Hats facing off with the lieutenants of the main villain. Luffy beats the main bad guy, and then at the end of the arc, there's usually like an update of like how what happened affects like the world of One Piece, because One Piece has a ton of world building. There's a lot of different like power structures between these pirates and the government, and what are the revolutionaries doing, and you know,
I'm more interested in the revolutionaries part of it.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them in a while. No. The last thing we taught was Blackbeard's like right hand was there, and he was telling them their location.
I don't want to go too off topic with One Piece, but Robin hung out with the revolutionaries. How come she never talked to Luffy about Sabo or that? How come she never told them?
Where has Robin been?
Well, she's with they're on another island. They're on the Samurai Island. Because they
it's been so long.
It has been so long. Well, that's another thing is that One Piece arcs take years. But what they did was like, because remember in the Doflamingo saga, the Straw Hats split up, and it was Zoro, Frankie, Robin, and Usopp with Luffy. And now in this arc with Big Mom, it's Nami, Brook, Sanji, and Chopper. And because I think the other Straw Hats, I think it's called like Wano, wherever the samurai guy's from. Yeah. They went there.
Okay.
So that's what's going on, but that was One Piece special, and my advice for One Piece will be read it first. If you're interested in seeing what the anime is like, go on YouTube and search specific fights and moments, because the anime is really slow. And I think if you start the anime, I think it's really easy. I mean, unless you have a ton of time on your hands, there's like 800 episodes.
Yeah.
You'll fall off. Watch something like My Hero Academia.
Right.
That's got like 30 something episodes.
Yeah, you'll catch up quick.
You'll fly through it. You'll fly through it in a week. You'll be good. So the next thing I want to talk about is Marvel's having a lot of drama at New York Comic Con. It looks like we're taping this on the Sunday, the 8th of October. New York Comic Con's wrapping up today. Apparently, so the first thing is that apparently they had a closed panel. I'm assuming it was like Marvel execs and people with like comic book store owners.
Yeah, it was comic store owners and comic book sellers and things like
that. And apparently, it totally went off the rails. There was like a big argument about Marvel, what they're doing with diversity, and why Marvel comics aren't selling. And apparently, some slurs were said at a certain point. So
talking about like
the problem
slurs and keep saying like these freaking women or something like that.
Yeah, it just. Marvel, I mean, I've talked about Marvel diversity issues before, especially on my YouTube channel, and I've gotten some pushback from it. This issue continues to go on. Like, I still keep my stance that it's not the characters themselves that's hurting Marvel. It's the fact that, A, there are too many events. There are way too many events in Marvel. I think, in general, the stories aren't that interesting as stories themselves instead of, look, we have an Asian Hulk. Look, we have a Black Captain America, which she's back to Falcon now, if you didn't know. Sam's back to Falcon now, so.
But they don't know how to end an event.
They don't know how to end an event. They instead of adding in new, more diverse characters organically, they just decide to get rid of characters that people know and love, push them to the side, and bring in a whole new cast of Avengers and whatnot that people have no attachment to.
Right.
So, like, I understand why people are mad. Some people are mad. Some people are just racist.
Right.
But I understand why some people are upset. You're like, okay, you've taken away Wolverine, you've taken away Bruce Banner and Wolverine and Tony Stark and Captain America the Nazi and Man Thor, and it gets to a point where you're trying to create new characters with a mask of older characters because you know that if you try to create new characters from scratch, no one will care.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's just, and it's kind of, they're kind of between a rock and a hard place. I mean, my opinion would just be, if I were to do it, I would bring back the older characters and have them share books with the newer characters and make the newer characters almost like sidekicks.
Right.
For some of them. Like, Miles can be a sidekick to Peter Parker. I don't think that's hard of a relationship to do. You know, there are certain things I'm like, both Wolverines, you know, Logan and Laura can be in the same book.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's how I would do it.
Oh, and Logan's back now.
Logan's back
with an Infinity Stone.
I don't know why. Yeah, and I don't even want to get into that. But yeah, Marvel, they're trying to do their own like DC Rebirth ripoff, and it wasn't DC Rebirth. Let me tell you. So yeah, so Marvel's issues continue, and my stance is that you gotta fix the writing, focus more on individual stories instead of events. You know, I don't want to say rip off DC, but like look at what they're doing where they have individual comics and story arcs and individual characters will cross over in certain comics without it being like this huge crazy thing. You'll see, okay, Flash is in the Green Arrow comic this week. Okay, you know, Nightwing's in the Red Hood story. Alright, you know, Ginger Wally West is in the Nightwing book this week. Like, I appreciate the little crossovers like that because they emphasize the relationships between the characters more as opposed to the universe is being destroyed, you know, pretty much every like 4 months. So that's my stance. They also had an issue. Apparently Marvel was trying to do some partnership with a weapons manufacturer, defense manufacturer called Northrop Grumman. I guess they were collaborating, and Northrop Grumman was going to like sponsor some comics that were supposed to be like STEM and science or something, but they got a lot of pushback because people are like, Marvel supporting the military-industrial complex, and it's sort of like, I just don't understand. You know, I mean, people have their opinions in the military, whatever, but especially like with just not even the military, but like weapons manufacturers, like, why did you guys think this was a good idea?
Right.
You know, I just don't understand, like you know, if you do something like that that's political, you're gonna get some pushback.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is the same thing that they got with this whole Captain America Secret Empire Nazi thing, which is just like,
well, some of that was bad timing.
Right, but
that was yeah. I mean, yeah, so anyway, Marvel got pushed back. They canceled this panel at New York Comic Con, and I guess they're canceling the partnership. And in their statement, Marvel pretty much blamed it on people not getting it. They were like, well, this collaboration was supposed to be a way to get kids in the STEM, and we were supposed to promote that, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, dude, collaborate with NASA or Microsoft or,
anybody but
Google.
Anybody but a military.
But not even a military. I mean, weapons manufacturer. You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Because you can make an argument. I mean, the military has a heavy presence in comics, even American media in general. Yeah. I don't want to get into that a lot, but like, okay, Captain America was a soldier. Captain Marvel was a soldier. I'm pretty sure Falcon was a soldier, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The Punisher was a soldier. You have, in comics, you have Green Lantern, I think. Well, he was an Air Force pilot, wasn't he? A lot of superheroes have military. John Stewart was he was in the
Marines.
He was in the Marines. I mean, there's a lot of. So there's a heavy military presence in comics in general, and I can get a whole conversation about, how American media portrays the military and things of that nature. But it's still partnering with a weapons manufacturer, especially in this day and age where you have Twitter, and if people don't like something, you're going to get dogpiled immediately. So if something seems a little controversial, especially in this era right now, my advice is don't do it. My advice is don't do it. And I mean, you would think they kind of learned their lesson with Secret Empire a little bit, because I mean, the country right now is having a conversation about like actual fascism and things of that nature. So creating a story where, a beloved American hero who was created by Jewish people becomes a Nazi it's bad timing, And then you get to the story itself, and pretty much it boils down to the moral is Nazis are bad, no kidding, and freedom versus security, and how there has to be a balance.
Right.
Which is a fine story to tell, but I just think the way they went about it was bad. I'm glad good Captain America is back. I guess evil Captain America is locked up somewhere.
Why didn't she just kill him?
Yeah. Yeah, he should have died.
Just poop.
And they tried to tease it at the end, like, ooh, he might come back with one of the guards in the prison being like, hell, Hydra. He's not. I don't think Hydra Steve is coming back. I hope not. I think they're going to forget about that. I think honestly, 6 months from now, none of the comics are going to reference Secret Empire. I think it's just they're just going to leave it behind, be like, all right. And the writer got in an argument with Black Nerds Online, which is funny. Nick Spencer, the guy who wrote it, he got in a Twitter fight with Black Nerds Online, which is kind of funny. It's also like, dude, some people don't like your comic. Like, I'd say if I was a writer, I don't even know if I'd have a Twitter account.
Probably not.
Not a public one, because people are gonna disagree with what you wrote, and you can't come off as like, super protective. It's like, you don't understand what I was trying to do. It's just like, all right, buddy, calm down.
Do you understand what you were trying to do?
No, he doesn't.
So yeah, well, speaking of the Punisher, that panel got canceled.
Yeah, they canceled the Punisher panel in light of what's going on in Las Vegas. There's a rumor that the show was delayed. So I don't know. I mean, in general, I'm fine.
At least with the Punisher, he's not going around shooting.
Punisher doesn't shoot civilians or innocent people. He typically, he goes after organized crime, dirty cops, dirty politicians, and dirty military personnel. That's usually what he deals with. It's funny. There's a lot of kind of Republican people that love the Punisher. And they're like, yeah, guns, but the Punisher. He goes after cops and the military. He goes after anybody
that's corrupt.
So. Just read the stories and just be careful. But that at least, I think that was a good move on Marvel, because that mass shooting just happened.
Right.
It just happened. So if they want to push it back a month, if they want to not do the panel, I think that's fine. There's hype around the show. They release it in November. I'm going to see it. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So good luck on them. I only have 2 more topics left. One says, LOL Inhumans. You haven't seen it, I haven't seen it. Apparently Inhumans was just a disaster. They're just...
why would you spend your IMAX on that?
Yeah, Apparently, it just didn't do well. I mean, apparently people just don't like it. Worse than Iron Fist. I made it, but I've heard it's not even so bad it's good. It's just really disappointing. So, I mean, if you're an Inhumans fan, I'm sorry. Hopefully they get it right in 10 years.
Yeah. Inhumans is one of those properties, like, I don't see how you're doing that without the Fantastic Four. Because that's how they were introduced.
That is how they're introduced. I mean... And then they're also trying way too hard to make Inhumans like the new X-Men.
Right.
Who needs the old X-Men when you have the Inhumans? But I was watching, I don't know if you ever watched NerdSync. It's a YouTube channel. Guy does theories about comics. And he said that the biggest difference between the X-Men and the Inhumans as characters is that the X-Men have no choice. You know, they're just born with powers. While, like, typically with the Inhumans, they choose to get their powers. And there's, like, this Inhumans ritual and whatnot. So by trying to make the Inhumans like oppressed and make them, you know, compare them to mutants is kind of bad because the idea of like mutants is that these people are oppressed and treated badly because of just who they are, how they're born, versus being an Inhuman is a choice. It is an active choice. So it's like, guys, they're not the same.
Right.
And I just don't. And the characters in general, I just aren't think they're not as iconic, not as popular, not as well known. You know, I mean, you can't compare the Inhumans characters to the likes of Wolverine, Jean, Wolverine, Phoenix, you know, Magneto, Xavier, Beast, Colossus, Kitty Pryde, Storm, Rogue, Gambit. Like, those characters have been around for so long.
Right.
And they're so iconic that you just can't replace those guys.
Right, and with the Inhumans, you got Black Bolt. That's the one people know.
The one people know is Black Bolt.
And maybe Crystal, because Crystal and the Human Torch were together for so long.
Yeah. And that's about it. You know, that is... So, you know, that sucks if you're an Inhumans fan. Like I said, like we've kind of said this before, Marvel really needs to diversify where they're putting their money and where they're putting, I think, their creative energy. Because I think the movie bubble will burst, and they need to have other properties for people to stay interested. Otherwise, they'll go bankrupt again. You know, I mean, I guess Disney's got them, but still.
Right.
Because DC's movie franchises have had issues, but I feel like DC just has a wider pool of like stuff that's really good. You know, they had Injustice 2 came out this year, and that's still going strong. They added Black Lightning as DLC, as a skin for Raiden, because people are upset about that. But
you
know,
also they have
some animated movies.
Right, you have their animated TV shows.
They have animated shows. They have their TV. They have their different TV properties. You know, DC just has a lot going on, and their comics, which is a segue into that.
Dark.
Are just really good. So now, last thing we're gonna talk about today is Dark Nights Metal. So Dark Nights Metal is a current crossover they're having within DC Comics. It pretty much has to do with evil versions. So people know about that comics usually exist in a multiverse. So all of our main stories exist in one universe, and then there's a bunch of different universes where, you know, things happen differently. In Dark Nights Metal, they revealed that there is for every multiverse there is a dark multiverse.
Right.
So within the dark multiverses, these are planets that are pretty much doomed to die, where pretty much everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Right.
I think that's the idea of it, right? And so instead of it just being like, okay, everybody's evil, it's a situation where it would be like an area that's similar. It would be like a universe that's similar to ours, but every bad decision you could have made.
It's like Murphy's Law to the utmost negative degree.
And characters from the Dark Multiverse are invading the normal DC multiverse, and it's all themed around Batman. Mm-hmm. So
they've been pulling things from like Barbados, from when the return of Bruce Wayne with the whole Black Hand situation, all the way till now. So the Dionysium when he was fighting the Joker, the Dionysiums and that, and then when he's been doing the Court of Owlsy. So they've been every major Batman event for like the past decade. They're playing into this.
They're playing into the metal story, and pretty much it involves evil alternate versions of Batman coming into this main universe and just messing stuff up. And the evil Batman all serve Barbados, who I guess is like a godlike figure. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much like, we think that Barbados has been like manipulating, controlling Bruce Wayne's life or like his destiny.
Right.
Some of that nature. Story's not finished yet, so we don't know for sure. But every evil version of Batman is like a version of Batman crossed with a member of the Justice League, except for
the Joker.
Except for the Batman Who Laughs, who is the leader of the evil Batman, who's like a cross between Batman and the Joker.
Right.
So you have a Flash Batman, a Green Lantern Batman, a Cyborg Batman, an Atlantean Batman. It's not. I mean, it's a woman, so I don't know how it relates to Aquaman. We still haven't found out. Why. It may be Mara. Yeah. So we don't know. There's a Batman cross with Ares, a Batman cross with Doom, and a Batman cross with Doomsday, which I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know you're a Doomsday fan, aren't you?
I mean, he
killed Superman. So, the arc has been really good just because it's built on a lot of stuff that's gone on with Batman in the past. A lot of other characters are involved in some of the side stories too, which I've actually enjoyed the tie-ins and side stories. We've gotten Harley Quinn, the one in it, Gotham Resistance, I think.
Yep.
It was a team up between Nightwing, Robin, Green Arrow, Harley Quinn, Killer Croc. I think that was the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was interesting. And we're getting a one-shot comics giving us the origins of all the evil Batman. We've gotten 3 so far.
The Batman Flash one. I like that one.
The Batman Flash one was good, yeah. So I don't want to spoil them all, but I would just say check them out. Mm-hmm. They're all really good. Cyborg one was crazy.
I haven't read that one yet. I bought it. I just haven't read it yet.
Have you seen the? I won't spoil it. It's just an alternate version of Cyborg. He gets messed up. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right.
And the Green Lantern one was good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of that, just to wrap it up, the Justice League trailer came out today.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. To reference Young Justice, I was just whelmed. I mean, like, I don't think it could excite me anymore unless they showed me, like, you know, Superman in his black outfit with the long hair, or Superman. Green Lantern or Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Like, whoever's the 7th, that would be the only thing that excites me, which is different than, you know, like in the Marvel trailers and the third one, at the end you always see like the reveal character, the surprise character. Like in Avengers trailer, it was Hulk. In Age of Ultron, I can't remember how they did it, but in
Vision.
Well, yeah, it was Vision, and then in Civil War, it was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, they're not showing us who the 7th is. They showed us a little bit of Superman, but not Superman fighting or anything, but they showed it as like a dream of Lois.
Yeah. So I
people are like, oh, they're not showing us much of the plot because they don't even know what it is. It's just like, all right, guys, get the Marvel stick out your butt and just watch.
We'll see. I mean, I'm going to go see it. You know, it comes out in a month and a half.
Yeah.
So pretty soon. I'm like, oh, it doesn't come out until November.
It's a month and a week.
Month and a week, yeah. So.
And then we have Thor first, which, I mean, I'm going to see it.
I'm excited for Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie.
I'm just going to see it just for what it is. It's not a Thor movie to me because it's not Ragnarok, but it's also not Planet Hulk. And so I hope they do it well.
I'm excited for. I hope that Hela does a good job, because I think this is the first Thor movie where we actually have a good villain. Hopefully, they've been hyping Hela up a lot.
As long as it doesn't revolve around Loki.
And we can see, and I want to see Thor use. I think, is it the Olden Force?
Yeah.
When he has like the glowing eyes, and Hela's like, "Tell me, what are you the god of again?" And you just see Thor, you know, all like lightened up and ready to go.
I think one of the things that has brought down Thor a little bit is he's less serious than he is in his comic book counterpart. And so it's like, you know, we're actually going to see him fight seriously, because in the first one we didn't really see him fight anybody, but yeah, we really didn't see him fight anybody, and neither did we in the second one.
Not really.
We haven't really seen him fight anybody.
Not really. Yeah, no, I like I said, Thor movies by far not my favorite movies, but this at least seems interesting. I mean, you got Jeff Goldblum.
That's the Grandmaster.
Who doesn't like Jeff Goldblum?
He just showed up in the Grandmaster. Actually, just showed up in Marvel's Contest of Champions.
Did he? Is he brothers with the Collector?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's been this whole, like, they have a story mode. Like, honestly, Contest of Champions is a pretty good story mode.
Probably better than Marvel Infinite.
A lot better than Marvel Infinite.
Oh my god. Marvel Infinite is just like, hey, Ryu is teaming up with the Hulk for some reason.
Yeah.
How do these two people know each other? We don't know.
They did do they did have to retcon their story mode, like part of it for a couple years ago, because at the end of like one of the acts you fight Thanos, and then in the next act the boss is the Maestro. You know who the Maestro is?
Evil Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
Old Smart Hulk.
Yeah, from another universe, and so they were doing that up. So then they retconned it because they're like, wait, let's do Infinity War or Infinity Gauntlet. So they're like, oh, Thanos wasn't defeated. I don't know how the third act ends now because I had already beaten it by the time they retconned it. So then they're like, oh yeah, the Collector has a secret partner and he's helping out. He's gonna help you beat the Maestro, and then you beat the Maestro, and then Thanos comes out of nowhere, like punches him. He's just like, I have the Infinity Gauntlet now, and it's just like, but all right, whatever, continuing on. But
yeah, it just, I'll have to. I do need to check out Contest of Champions, but you know, regardless,
a lot of your time.
I'm going to see Justice League, so you know, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Arrowverse. At least a crossover.
Yeah.
At least a crossover. You know. And we'll go from there. I think that's pretty much it. Chris, is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off? So, yeah. Moral of the story, yeah, don't sexually assault women. Marvel needs to get their stuff together in many regards. Check out Dark Knight's Metal. And Dragon Ball, yeah, check out Dark Knight's Metal and the current arc of Dragon Ball Super if you haven't.
Right.
And all these different movies and shows, you know, I'm always cautiously optimistic, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm just gonna sign off. Yeah, I'm your host Chris.
I'm Chris.
And yeah, we'll catch you all later. Have a great have a great week, and we'll catch you all soon.
Yep.
See ya.
See ya.